It's podcast time, and wherever you are and wherever you may be listening, this is the podcast. I'm Garrett Sims. We're going to jump right in it. It's January 13th on a beautiful Wednesday here in Springfield, Missouri. And we got some breaking news right off the bat. A guy named James Harden, played for the Houston Rockets, has now been traded to the Brooklyn Nets. I've said for a long time I don't like watching the NBA. It's not that I don't want to, but there's things that it does that makes me dislike it or not want to watch it. And part of it is, and part of what I've come to fruition with why I don't like it, is that the players have more power than any coach or any GM. So when the James Harden situation broke out, he said, listen, I'm not going to play here. He said, I don't want to be here. They traded Westbrook. He wants to be traded. There's a little bit of drama, whether he'd play, whether he wouldn't. Comes back looking like he had an off-season diet of just McDonald's and Chick-fil-A. Plays a couple games, gets caught at a strip club maskless, and now said last night, I love Houston, but the problem itself is unfixable. And there's so many different takes you can take off what he said last night. You know, he wants to win an NBA title. He truly does. There's no doubt in my mind when it boils down to it that he wants to win one and he wants to be on a team that wins one. But part of it is putting in the work and showing up to McDonald's every day and getting your daily reps of cheeseburgers and fries and whatever isn't helping you win an NBA title. I'm sorry. You have to put in work to achieve what you want to achieve. And James Harden chose the easy way out rather than to grind and to fight and win the title the right way. He came close a couple times. He was very unlucky that he faced a very good Golden State team. Knocked him out a couple times. He just gets unlucky, you know? First he blamed Chris Paul. Chris Paul's traded. They bring in Russell Westbrook. Then, you know what? We can't do anything with Russell Westbrook either. And that was just the circumstances of COVID and the bubble and everything else on top of it. If you would have gave it another year, there's a good chance they would be a top 5 team because they already were. But they would be a top 5 team in the West, and I would say better than the Clippers. Just from a chemistry standpoint between Harden and Westbrook. But instead, they decided to blow dynamite up and say, nah, this isn't it. We're going to move on. We're going to go a different way. Westbrook's gone. Now Harden wants out. Now Harden's choosing the easy way. They bring in Bradley Beal. They get him DeMarcus Cousins. And the team's actually not that bad. I think they have a nice little rookie that's not terrible at all. Got him some bigs. And you still want out. Because the last thing the Rockets organization wanted to do was get rid of Harden, especially to give him to go play with Kyrie and KD. That's not what they wanted to do. They didn't want to trade him at all. If there was ever a moment in the news, they were like, oh, you know what, we're going to go trade James Harden. Like, if that was the direction they wanted to go, they were lying. If they ever said that, they were lying. They don't want to trade. They didn't want to give him to somebody. And I say James Harden took the easy way out because he could have grinded and probably had a very good chance. And he'll probably go to a Nets team that will be more dramatic than putting T.O., Randy Moss, and Chad Ochocinco on the same team. Because face it, it's gonna be a bunch of drama. I mean, you might as well change the Brooklyn Nets name to the Brooklyn Drama, because that's what it's gonna be. Like, it's not going to be a shock to anybody within a month of playing. They're going to be bickering about who's getting the ball and why somebody's not scoring enough, because they're going to be a good team. There is no doubt in my mind that they don't steamroll every team in the East and make it to the finals. But the Clippers tried to do the same thing. They tried to say, oh, we're going to get Kawhi, and then we're going to get Paul George, and then we're going to get Montez Harrell, and then we're going to have Pepper Lemon Lou and Beverly, and we're just going to mix and match it with all these different chemicals and hope it works and doesn't blow up in our face. Well, if you watched the playoffs last year, it kind of did blow up in the Clippers' face. And so Brooklyn's like, we're gonna sign Kyrie. Okay, he'll play. Turns out he gets injured, doesn't really play a whole lot that first year. Whatever. They still somehow end up being pretty okay without him. They got DeAndre Jordan, then they get KD, and you're sitting there like, okay, that's a little bit of a perfect mix, honestly. Like you sit back and they have enough role players, and they got the two superstars, maybe three if you want to consider that DeAndre Jordan's still a superstar, and you're sitting there like, that's not a bad team. You know, it competes well with the East, probably could go against any team in the West. But now James Harden's like, oh, I want to go play with KD and I want to go play with Kyrie. The Rockets are like, please don't make us do it. We really don't want to do it. Don't force us to do it because we don't want to. Well, he said some comments last night. He's on the next flight to Brooklyn. So now you look up and down at the lineup and you're like, how in the God's name did they trade for James Harden without getting rid of Kyrie Irving? I don't know how they did it. You look at the trade and you're like, wow, that's really, truly all they got. Head scratcher. And for Nets fans, it's like, you know what? Oh, we have all these good players. But sometimes what you see is when the egos get too big and one person scoring more points than the other, what seems to be good just falls apart. And I'll give KD credit because when he was with Golden State, he didn't complain. He played his role pretty well, and he was a pretty good superstar. And that's part of the Steph Curry effect. Like, when you play for Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, like, you know they're not going to argue. Like, they want what's best for that team. And that's why I argue that situation was different than what it is now. Because you know how Kyrie's been. Kyrie wants to be in the spotlight. If Kyrie is not in the spotlight, he's going to get upset. He's going to throw his little temper tantrums, the same temper tantrums he threw at Cleveland that he did at Boston. And now he's probably going to continue them with the Nets. And it's nothing against Kyrie. He's a great basketball player. But if you're telling me right now, if he continues on the pace he's at, if he's a Hall of Famer, no. It's too much talk and not enough show. KD's a great ball player. And KD could take a team by himself to probably the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know so much about the Western Conference, but he could definitely take a team to the Eastern. And then you got James Harden, who just wants to take the easy way out. Things are going to get challenging down that road. At some point, you're not going to have Kyrie like you do now. You're not going to have Kyrie, and maybe you won't have KD. Is James Harden a big enough man to lead a team? Because he's not a leader, and Kyrie's not a leader. I don't think Kyrie's smart enough to be a leader. Dude still thinks the earth's flat. Buddy, it's 2020. Can we open our eyes, please? Like, you know, and that's just part of who he is. Like, he has to have the attention on him 24/7, and that's why I don't watch basketball. I feel like it's too much me, and not enough team. They hired Steve Nash as their coach. And for basketball, you really don't need a coach. I mean, that's just, yeah, you run plays, but most of the time it's like who can get open and who can shoot it. Like, and you're sitting there like, well, this is why you don't like basketball, because you don't understand the game. Like, I don't understand the game. Like, that's what you're telling me right now. Well, you know, because I don't think there really is. Get the ball in the hoop. You know, and I would say that, you know, I know there's like isolations, there's pick and rolls and stuff like that, but a lot of those plays are called just to rotate and get somebody open. Like, it's not like football. Like football, you have different routes and different route combos. You got route trees. You got screen. I mean, like, there's always something different, and it's built differently. Like, basketball is like, we're going to pick and roll this way, which is going to get me open to go have an ISO with this guy. Maybe we shift the defense to get a dude open in the corner so that way he can hit a three. You know, it's not like we're running slants and Hail Marys and stuff like that. So I don't mean to offend anybody there that loves basketball, but that's just how I look at it. But, I mean, you really don't need a coach. What? So you can have, I mean, really boils down to you just have somebody, you just have some authority figure that you're just going to blow past anyway. That's really what it is. I mean, there's a couple coaches that are respected in the league, and that's like Greg Popovich and Steve Kerr. But do you think for a second that Katie and Kyrie, and think James Harden coming in here is going to be like, oh, we respect you so much, Steve Nash. We're going to do everything you tell us to do, and we're going to do it to the best. No, that's not how it's going to work. You saw Kyrie before the season. I mean, I don't know what you want me to tell you, and that's how it goes for most of the league. They have a coach of the year award. They should just throw it away because, like I said, there's two coaches I truly think that could get it every year because they're actual coaches and their players respect them as coaches. And I might be missing some. And if you want another example of that, look at Nick Nurse in Toronto. Kawhi was there. Nick Nurse tried to fire him up, and Kawhi shot him right down. Instead of the players playing poorly with the Los Angeles Clippers, the fingers were pointed towards Doc Rivers. You never see that in the NFL. Never. It takes about a year or two, but sometimes you start blaming the players. Okay, maybe they're not playing good enough. Then you get some new players in there. Then if it continues to go south, then you start looking at the coach. With Anthony Lynn in the Chargers, perfect example. Dude had Phillip Rivers. They said, yeah, you know what, you did good. You got us to the postseason once. We said, let's get you a young quarterback, some more defensive weapons, and a couple little offensive gadget guys. Now let's see how you do. Well, he led them to their worst record. Or I don't want to say worst record since they've been there, but one of their not so good records. I don't know where that ranks because I know they had a 12-4 season, and it was definitely worse than that. I don't remember what the record was the year before, but my point is that they gave him a couple chances. They got him some pieces. Guess what? Now that you can't perform, you're gone. Adam Gase is just Adam Gase, so I mean that was kind of like, ooh. And if they probably got him some better weapons, he could have been better. He wouldn't have been 0-6 or 2-14. But that's my problem with the NBA. There's just no authority there. There's nobody to answer to. The only dude to answer to there is Adam Silver, and I argue that he is the best commissioner in all of sports. Out of the three major sports, he's the best one. And I agree with that wholeheartedly because he makes rules. He tries to change things up. And he just does a good job. He's a great authority figure, does a great job with the NBA. And part of my problem is we swing back to the Harden deal. The words he said last night not only disrespected his teammates, but made him look like a complete and total doucher. I mean, that's how you really seriously got to look at it. He wasn't even giving it a chance. They got him Bradley Beal, who's a phenomenal player. No, I take that back. See, this is how much I don't watch basketball. They got him John Wall. John Wall was... I get those two confused because they were such a dynamic duo in Washington. It's surprising that they never made it as far in the playoffs as I think they should have. They got him John Wall. Bradley Beal's still there with Westbrook. But they got him John Wall. They got him DeMarcus Cousins. And it's like you didn't even give it a chance. And he didn't give it a chance. So the way he looked at it is he was, instead of trying to win, he said, I'm done. He didn't even give it a chance. And that's the worst thing you can do. That's seriously the worst thing you can do as a player is to give up because you're showing everybody in that locker room your true colors. So when things get tough for you in Brooklyn, you're not going to stand up to those challenges. They already know you're going to roll over. And for a guy like LeBron, who you may see in the finals, LeBron and AD, they're going to come after you. If they lose, they're going to bring everything they got, and they're going to put as much adversity in your lap as you can possibly handle. And for James Harden, that's not a lot. And that's just who James Harden is. His entire career ran away from the fight because he's afraid of it. He's afraid of a little bit of physicality. He can put a showstopper on. He can hang a 50 bomb on you whenever he wants, but it's when he wants to do it, and it's only when he feels like doing it. He's played defense a couple of times, but he really doesn't play defense a whole lot. I think if the game was on the line and Giannis Antetokounmpo's driving down the court, I think he gets out of the way. Maybe if the game's on the line, he maybe stands in and tries to do something. But at the end of the day, James Harden isn't trying to get hurt. And that's just what Brooklyn has to understand they're getting. And for Houston, I think when you look at assets, they did get Victor Oladipo, which is pretty nice, but he ain't James Harden. But I think they win because they're going to have a guy in Victor Oladipo that's going to buy into what they're doing, going to try to help them win. And with John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins, I'd give them a chance. And this is the thing about the West. The West is the most stacked. You look at the two conferences, the West is the most stacked, obviously. You got the Lakers, the Clippers, the Mavs, the Warriors, OKC, who was surprisingly good last year. I don't think they're going to be any bit as good, but you get my point. Like, they were even good with just Chris Paul. You got a couple others, and then you're going to have the Rockets. Now that they got some guys that are going to buy in, I think it's going to be pretty good for them. I think they're going to turn it around. I don't know if it's going to be a playoff type year, but if they can definitely keep those three guys around, I think they have a chance going into the next year. But they definitely won this trade because you have to sit here and understand James Harden might win a championship this year, but it isn't going to be because James Harden worked his butt off to win. He took the easy way out and he went to a team that was already stacked. And I think Houston wants a guy that's going to sit there and fight. And that's what they truly deserve. There's some more problems going on in Houston that are in the NFL. And there's so many Deshaun Watson rumors right now, I can't even count them. So many different reports coming out. Andre Johnson actually came out and said something. The old Texans, great wide receiver, called out the organization for wasting careers. So then DeAndre Hopkins comes out and says, when Dre talks, you listen. And I totally agree. You respect his opinion. You definitely respect somebody that could have been fantastic anywhere else. Probably could have won a ring somewhere else, but stayed with Houston and is a legend there. And I think people are just tired of seeing people's careers wasted in Houston because of poor management, the dysfunction. And I still think it's ridiculous to trade away Deshaun Watson. I am not saying trade him, and if I'm Houston, do not trade him. Because you are going to have to live with the consequences of that trade for a very long time. Because he will go out and he will win an MVP award sometime in his career. Just how the NFL works. It's not Giannis and LeBron every year. So it's always kind of somebody else in the NFL. So Deshaun's going to get that chance. And if you argue any year he's on the Texans, he should automatically be in the running for MVP. Like this year, he probably should be. But Aaron Rodgers played better. And what you have to understand from this Houston Texans standpoint is that, listen, we say we're going to put you into things. And as a man, you have to respect that you say those things. You have to do the things that you promise because when you don't, you're going to get people upset. And I don't blame Deshaun. But I don't think your quarterback should have a say in who you hire. So if we're going to go around and point fingers, there should be no fingers pointed at Watson. There should be no fingers pointed at the GM. It should be the person that promised it in the first place. Maybe you say, okay, Deshaun, we're going to look, okay? We'll take your inputs. Tell us what you think. And we'll go from there. We're not going to ask you every step of the way and be like, oh, do you approve of this? No, because that's not how it should be. We'll take your inputs. We'll listen. And we may interview the guys that you want. But as far as I'm concerned, I heard Eric Bieniemy has absolutely no interest in that job whatsoever. Came out and said it, wants nothing to do with it. And that's the guy Deshaun wants. And of course Deshaun wants him. He was the offensive coordinator that came back from 24-0. Also a team of Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill. But he was still a part of that offense. But kind of irks me the most about this is that I just don't want to see what happens in the NBA. I don't want to see the Harden situation that you're seeing in the NBA right now flood its way over to the NFL. Because I like how the NFL set up. It lets the GM, head coach, and the owner have all final say. Like, they are authority figures, and you do not argue with them because those are your bosses. And if you disagree with them, they used to just go trade you to the Browns. Now they can't even do that anymore. It'll probably be the Lions or the Jaguars until they get good. Maybe send them to the Bears. The Bears are actually good. They just need a quarterback, so I wouldn't do that. And the reason I think that Eric Bieniemy is so against going to Houston or going to the Chargers is because he doesn't want to play the Chiefs. He knows that. And I think that Mahomes and Reek and Clyde and Kelsey and all those guys are going to beg him to stay because they love him so much. He's such a great guy. He's a class act. So whoever gets him as a head coach is getting a very good guy. And I think he also wants to build from the ground up. Houston's kind of at that stage, if you ask me. They are about a piece or two away. If they could just sign a wide receiver or a tight end or a running back, they could just change the game a little bit. It'd be fine. There'd be no reason to freak out. They're just missing one guy on offense. And everybody's talking about trading Deshaun Watson to the 49ers or the Dolphins or the Patriots. And I'm just like, that's just not, it's never going to happen. The Texans would be too stupid to even trade him to an AFC team. The one rule of thumb is when you trade a guy, you don't trade him to a conference that you're going to see him in. You're not going to trade him in that conference. You're not going to trade him in the division. You're going to trade him to the NFC. So, logically, the 49ers make sense, but they have Jimmy G to a huge contract. So what are you going to do, send Jimmy G to the Texans? A guy that Kyle Shanahan likes a lot? It just doesn't make sense. And then you say the Dolphins. And there are reports today that Miami Dolphins players are not impressed with Tua Tagovailoa. Give the kid a break. He's a rookie. Yeah, he didn't play his best ball down the stretch. He had a couple good games. He did what he could do as a rookie. He didn't set the world on fire like Justin Herbert. But what Justin Herbert did, you don't see every day. Tua's a rookie who came off an injury where they said he'd never play football again. So I think you got to take a deep breath and calm down a little bit, because to move off of him now would be ridiculous, especially when they have the third pick in the draft and could go get the wide receiver he worked with for 2+ years. So if they decide to make that trade, Tua for Deshaun makes Miami a better team. It will if they bring Deshaun to Miami. But that's just going to hurt Tua's confidence. You think Tua wants to go to Houston and go play? No, he wants to play for the Dolphins. So cut him a break. Stop with all the talk. I'm telling you right now, and unless for some strange reason a full moon comes out, Deshaun Watson isn't going anywhere. Tua should not go anywhere. It's too early to bail on Tua. You got to give him at least 2 years to start saying stuff. Look at Baker Mayfield. Came out and had an okay, it wasn't great, but he had an okay rookie season. For rookies, it was good as a quarterback, as a starting quarterback in the NFL. For a veteran, it wasn't. Second year went down. Guess what? That third year, he won his first playoff game. Got him to the playoffs for the first time in 18 years. So to say 1 year and move off a guy is completely ridiculous. So stop it with that. Absolutely sickening. I don't talk about NHL much, but that started tonight. If you're a big NHL guy, good for you. I don't watch a lot about it. I just know at the college I go to, there's a lot of Blues fans. It seems like there's more Blues fans here than Chiefs fans or Royals or Cardinals. I mean, there's quite a few Cardinals, but I see a lot more Blues. And I don't know if that's just because bandwagoning because I won a championship a couple years ago. We're going to finish everything up with food for thought. Absolutely. Just going to wrap things up with a nice, tidy bow. And think it's been a great ride so far. We got away from what I did last week with Wild Card Wednesday. I'd like to do that again. I just figured it was better to talk about James and the Brooklyn drama because that's what they truly are. I'm just going to talk about baseball real quick to wrap things up. Food for thought. Here we go. Right now. Baseball, they announced they're going to have a 162-game season as of now. Commissioner Robert Jokeford, he's a joke, absolute joke, announced that. I just want to know, how many people are actually thinking about watching baseball? Because I know myself, and it's not because the Royals aren't doing good. It's just I'm so tired of seeing loaded teams. Like NBA has its problems, and the MLB has its problems. Like the San Diego Padres are probably, between them and the Dodgers, are going to be the ones to win out of the NL. And out of the AL, it's a good chance it's going to be the Astros or Yankees. I mean, that's just how it goes. So I'm curious to see how many of you guys are really interested in watching baseball this year because I probably won't watch a game. If I get a chance to go in the summer, to pay my $10 ticket because that's how bad our team sucks, I'd go, yeah. But let me know. Let me know what you think. I think baseball's done a tremendously lousy job since Manfred's took over. I think the game significantly got worse since Selig left. So, as for that, guys, I will see you in the next one. Let me know what you want to see. Tomorrow's Throwback Thursday. Don't think I'm forgetting that. That one I'm actually looking forward to because, you're kind of running out of stuff to talk about. We're going to go take a blast from the past and look at some things that happened yesterday or this week. And we're going to go back and we're going to reflect on them. So as for that, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Be safe and have a lovely Wednesday night. This is Garrett Sims, and this has been the podcast.